to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Grundy, we've got the final two teams. We are on teams 31 and 32 of our season reviews for everybody and the kind of the upcoming season previews for each team. We got the Columbus Blue Jackets and we got the New York Rangers today. Do you want to start us off? Do you want me to start? You got a preference?
At this point, no. We're at the last two teams. It's been a long road to get here. Let's start kind of similar to last episode. We'll start from the bottom and work our way to the top. So we'll start off with the Columbus Blue Jackets.
You know what? That makes sense. You know, it might as well end with the team that won the President's Trophy last year.
Well, they must have won the Stanley Cup if they're a President's Trophy winning team, right? One would think.
Well, I got to imagine so. I stopped watching after they swept in the first round. I assumed that was it.
Yeah, I thought they were going all the way. They couldn't have
16-0.
possibly lost.
Yeah.
Not with the biggest leader in the league in Jacob Trouba.
Mark Messier proved.
And we got lots to talk about Trouba, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
But the Columbus Blue Jackets, a team that currently is the lowest cap hit in the league. They are the only team under the cap floor at this point. The NHL has waived them having to get above the cap floor before the period where they would normally have to be cap compliant. Obviously, due to the tragic passing of Johnny Gaudreau, his contract has been voided for counting against the cap. So they obviously, that was, I believe, the biggest contract on the team. Werenski might have been making a bit more, but at just over $9.5 million. But obviously, that's going to be a huge loss for them going into this season. Hopefully, the team can really rally around it, especially with bringing Sean Monahan. But there's a couple of free agents still out there that are hovering around that I'm surprised already aren't signed, and Columbus has to get some money on the books now. So it doesn't have to be right away, but the league does expect that at some point this year they are going to be cap compliant. So it will be very interesting to see who they pick up, maybe, because there's still a lot of guys. Obviously just because of everyone loves him, like Phil Kessel's name's thrown around a lot.
I love Phil, but like people got to stop with that. Like if he was gonna be signed, I feel like he would have already been signed at this point. Especially after Vancouver gave him a tryout.
I
right at the trade deadline last year, and he and especially for the Canucks, that's a free signing, that's a free acquisition, right? Like you can't tell me you look at their entire roster and be like every single even their healthy scratches were better than Phil Kessel. Like no, he would have been better than some of the guys they had, but
at scoring, but not at doing the depth hitting and the depth two-way play that he might be doing, because he's not making the top six. We all know that.
No, definitely not.
But I think he's like a lot. You mostly see it as in guys that are coming up into the league, where they're too skilled to be in the bottom six, but they're not good enough to crack the top six. I think Kessel's kind of like that, but he's obviously regressing. He's on the decline versus guys who are going to get better and eventually push that spot. Yeah. I think on a team like Columbus, I think they could definitely get some value out of him. But it remains to be seen what they're even looking for.
I just think at this point it's like, it's just tough, especially a guy that's 37 now as of yesterday, and he went all of last year without playing. It's kind of tough for a guy to come back and whatnot, but I don't know. We'll see. Fun stat here. I don't know why, but I was just looking up. I was just going deep into Phil Kessel lore here, and he won the Bill Masterton in his rookie season. He was drafted in 2006, as we all know, 5th overall by Boston. Immediately signed and played his rookie year with the Bruins, where he won the Bill Masterton Trophy. So that's
Really?
fun. I didn't know that.
No, I had no
I
idea.
don't think I've ever seen a rookie win the Bill Masterton.
No, like that's crazy. I had no idea about that.
Anyways, back to Columbus though. Just
Back
fun
to
fact there.
Columbus.
But,
No,
but there,
no,
there is options for
that was great to fill the time because I was looking all over cap wages, could not find the unsigned free agent list, but I have it now, and there's still some good players available. Let me know if any of these guys have retired because I do think some of them have, and
yeah.
they're still listed. But like, I'm seeing Ryan Johansson's a bit of a tough one, but Jakob Silfverberg, Tyler
He's he's
Johnson.
he's gone. He's retired from the NHL. He's playing back over in Sweden now.
Oh, okay.
Silverberg. I think Tyler
Yeah.
Johnson's still on his PTO, isn't he?
I believe he has a PTO with Boston, yeah, but
Boston, yeah.
they have not signed him as of yet.
Yeah.
Um,
So if he doesn't sign with Boston, it's
there's a
an
couple of
interesting
guys.
option.
Yeah, yeah, like it's you're not risking a ton with a lot of these guys, right? I mean, they literally have to get up to the cap floor. The cap is they do not have to worry about hitting the roof of it, and they have everything to gain because obviously these guys who haven't been signed yet, they're they're gonna be like dirt cheap, and you can retain on dirt cheap to make it half of dirt. And
Yeah.
like, so if they even look half decent going to the playoffs, uh, a team will give you a fourth rounder for Tyler Johnson making 500,000 or something like that, right? So
Yeah.
it's yeah, just they one way or another they do have to get up to the cap. So I'm assuming they'll do it through a signing because that's free assets versus trading for a contract. But
Yeah.
you never know.
Yeah, they've got options, multiple ways they can do it, but yeah, and the thing is, like, again, to reach the cap floor for them, there isn't an exact, set deadline that the league is expecting them to be there by. It's just, you know, there's no timeline set for them, but the understanding is just that Columbus will get there at some point,
Yeah,
and in a reasonable time frame. So they still got time to, you know, get through the end of preseason, figure out what their roster is, maybe see where they need to make an addition, and then they can go from there, type of thing.
I do like that they haven't put a hard date on it or anything. It's just kind of
Yeah.
you know we trust them. Like they, it's weird how much these like multi-million, these billion-dollar organizations kind of have to be babied sometimes. It feels like, and they're actually just like in this situation, like we we trust them. We know they'll get it done. They're good businessmen. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I
that's
think
nice to
it's a
see.
good way that the league handled it, the way that they're doing it. And again, they're not putting any pressure on Columbus for it. It's just, again, the league knows Columbus will get there, and so they're not forcing them to have it done by a certain time. It's just get it done when you can, please, basically.
Yeah. Um. But let's dive into some of the more specifics with this team. So some of their things they got going on right now. They have all their first round picks the next 3 years. Of course, they're in a rebuild. They're kind of trying to come out of it, but it's hard to tell if they're ready to come out of it yet. They've got obviously some very high end talent coming up. Adam Fantilli looks incredible. Um, Kent Johnson has been great for stretches. Had a bit of a down year last year, but they've got him on a great 3-year contract for only 1.8 mil. So they got some pieces. I'm trying to find where the hell the rest of them are because
Yeah, they locked in. Yeah, Ken Johnson, he got that 3-year deal. Marchenko got a 3-year deal. Cole Sillinger, they gave a 2-year deal to.
yeah, they've got
Um,
more RFAs than UFAs. Like
Chinikov, they gave a 2-year deal. Like, so they've got their, at least kind of their young guys, or what it was expected to kind of be their big pieces. Um, Signed for the next couple years now. Obviously, they still have Adam Fantilli, who's going to take a big step this year. I think he's going to be playing, a lot of big minutes for the team.
Yeah.
It's a young team now, right? Like they got a mix of some older veterans, but they're big guys that they're going to be relying on for a lot of their offense. Is really all these young guys that they've been drafting over the last few years that are all kind of really starting to hit their stride in the league. So they're going to be a young dominated team. Um, Obviously, some growing pains for them, but that's kind of what you have to go through when you're kind of trying to come out of a rebuild. Is you're just starting to get your young guys into the league, and as they figure it out, like that's just kind of the nature of rebuilds. And Columbus has some nice pieces though throughout their
They
lineup
they
that they
have a
can
lot
build
of
around.
yeah, they've got a lot of really good young forwards. I will say though, they have David Juracek. Other than that, they don't have much on the blue line. Obviously, they bought out Adam Bachvist, so they don't have him anymore. But like, it's funny because their forwards are so young, but their blue line, like, Damon Severson's 20 or 30, Provorov is 27, Erica Branson's 32, Jack Johnson's 37. Like, it's not incredibly old, but like they don't have those young 23 and under guys that they have half a dozen of in their forward core.
Yeah, they do have uh Denton Matejchuk, who I don't know. He's
Oh
either going to be
yes,
playing in the NHL or in the AHL this year. So they have him again. One defenseman doesn't uh, make or break it for them completely. There obviously is going to need to be more areas on their blue line that they're going to have to address. But
yeah.
having him and having Matejchuk and Yurchek is at least two solid starting points for them at the very least.
Yeah, that's a great point. He does look like he'll be a big piece for them in the future. 2 points in 3 games for Matachuk in the preseason. Both of them goals from a defenseman. Pretty cool. He's also a +4 over those 3 games. So it is 3 games in the preseason, but you know, signs are looking good, and they've got quite a few guys that are performing really well in these preseason games. Fantilli's got 4 goals in 4 games, 6 points. Matthew Olivier has 4 goals in 4 games. Kent Johnson has 4 points in 3 games, 1 goal and 3 assists. Like Marchenko with the exact same stat line. Like they're all a +3, a +4, a +5. Like they're it's you don't want to look too deep into stats for preseason, especially that small of a sample size, but like it looks good.
Yeah,
Like
so far, yeah.
are they gonna, you know, 4 goals in 4 games? He's not gonna put up 82 goals in the regular season, but like, you know, he could he could pop off for 25, 30 if he has the right line mates and if they take a bit of a step. But it'll be very interesting to see how many of their guys take that step. I do think Fantilli especially is going to take a big step this year.
Yeah.
Last year, Adam Fantilli, where is he here? Not 19. He's currently 19, so he was like 18/19 last year. In 49 games, 27 points. So
On a bad Columbus team.
yeah,
Like
like
that's worth noting.
on a on a pretty damn bad Columbus team. So, slightly over a half a point per game. Really young, like, playing 15 and a half average minutes per game. Like, clearly some sheltered minutes. I think he was playing on the third line, so I don't know the quality of his line mates. Like, all signs seem to be pointing that Fantilli is gonna break out pretty good this year.
He's going to be a fantastic player for them, and we've gone through, you know, some of the young guys that they do have as we've listed off. They do still have Caden Lindstrom, fourth overall pick this last year. He is coming off a bit of some injuries, and he is currently unsigned. They have not signed him to his ELC, so odds are he's probably going back to the dub, which I think is completely fine, especially when you consider that the Medicine Hat Tigers have a very, very talented group there and look very well poised to probably, in my opinion, I think be one of, if not the best team in the WHO. And so it's just going to be great for him to just, keep winning some more games, just keep, getting better because again, like we're talking about Columbus, they're not going to contend. No point rushing your young guy, especially when like I mean it's impossible to say right now, but we don't necessarily know who the number one center is going to be for Columbus uh, in 4 or 5 years. But just at the sheer fact of looking that your 1 and 2, regardless of where they are, is going to be Fantilli and Lindstrom. Like that's a great solid
That's
foundation that
nasty.
they can build around. So
Yeah.
there's things to
Yeah.
look forward to.
Yeah. And there's like even things to look forward to this season, which is nice because, it's it, the Blue Jackets really have been in one of those spots where it's like they're rebuilding, and they're still rebuilding, and they're kind of still rebuilding. Are they going to take a step? Nope. Another high pick. Like a lot of people are really waiting for them to break out, and they just kind of have been rebuilding for a while. Like it's not near at the level of Buffalo or anything, but like it's kind of similar to the Red Wings, where it's like, let's get the ball rolling a bit. We're kind of expecting to come out of this at some point. So
Yeah.
and unfortunately for them, they're in a very strong Eastern Conference. They are in the Metro, but uh, they're still playing a lot of the great teams over there several times a year. So
Yeah.
we'll see how many wins they can rack up this coming season. This past season, their record was 27, 43, and 12. They pushed 12 games to OT that they lost for 66 points on the year. I believe that was third last in the league. Sixth.
Yeah.
Not sixth, fourth. Sorry.
They were bad last year. Like, I'm not going to sit and be like, oh, the Blue Jackets were good. We know they weren't, but like they were still somewhat of a competitive team, right? Like I think, even though they were fourth, in my opinion, they were still a tier above, the bottom three, right? Like Anaheim,
Yeah.
Chicago, San Jose, like those three were so bad, they were in like a tier of their own. Columbus wasn't in that. So, they're already ahead of where some other teams are in terms of, teams that they're kind of rebuilding alongside with. And Columbus should be better, I think. Obviously, the big overlooming part of the offseason for them. I still like the team that they have though. And especially with again how young driven this team is with their young guys who are all expected to take on bigger roles with the team as, each season goes on. They continue to get better. Again, not a playoff team by any means, but I definitely think they're going to be better than they were last year.
Yeah. It's hard because they have a lot of guys that are gonna be taking a big step, but at the same time, losing Johnny Gaudreau, he was their leading point scorer last year with 60 points in 81 games.
Mhm.
Um, like that's such a huge loss, both emotionally and just on the ice, right? But
Yeah.
um, hopefully we can see this team kind of rally behind that a bit. Sean Monahan coming in, that's probably going to help the team immensely in the locker room, especially with all that going on. So hopefully they can really rally behind it a bit and get some momentum coming out this season because
Yeah.
even we talk about all the guys that are going to get better. Some guys like don't really even need to. Like Zach Werenski last year, 70 games played, 57 points on the blue line. He was an even plus minus last year in 24 and a half minutes average time on ice. Uh, Being a plus minus of 0 on a team that what was their plus minus as a team last year? Minus 63 goal differential. And
Yeah.
he played like 45% of the ice time average throughout the entire season, and he was even. Like that
I
that bodes
don't
pretty well for how he plays.
Yeah, Werenski isn't a guy that necessarily needs to get better. It's just stay healthy.
Yeah.
Because you go back like it was Uh,
It was only like 2 or
really,
3
it
years
was it
ago,
was
I think.
like it was really back when he was still on his ELC of when he had back to back healthy years. Like 2018 to 19, he played all 82 games. Then it went down to 63. The following year dropped down to 35. Went up the next year up to 68. Then dropped back down to 13. And then he played 70 last year. So they just need him to stay healthy,
Yeah,
really.
and I don't know how many games played he played in the 52 game season that was COVID shortened.
That would have
But
been
even then, like,
35 that year.
yeah, so he still missed 20-ish games on that shortened season. But
Yeah.
he did play 70 last year. You know, a lot of ice time as well. So hopefully he can build on that. Stay healthy and everything. But yeah, like this, and it's funny because this is a young team, but even their veterans, barring Jack Johnson, who's 37, they really don't have any like that old veterans. Like their oldest veteran beyond him is Eric
JVR probably.
Goodbranson at 32.
Well,
JVR is
JVR's
35. You're right.
up there. Yeah, like I said, like they've got it. Like you still got some guys that are kind of like not necessarily like on the older side, but not the younger side. Like again, you got your Sean Monahan, you got your Boone Jenners, but like a good chunk of this team really is kind of on the younger side, like in the 27 or younger.
Yeah, like they're a lot of them can grow at the same time, and if they do, it could be really nice. One area of concern for them, of course, and it has been for a bit now, is goaltending. Uh, Elvis Merzlikins is kind of in a weird spot. He's very streaky, and his relationship with the management has been rocky at best. He has 3 years left at 5.4 mil per year for the next 3 years.
And he
Modified
wanted
with
out.
trade.
He wants to trade out of Columbus, doesn't he?
I believe so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he asked for a trade out.
But no team would. No team wanted him because of his contract, pretty much.
Well,
Well, it's not even necessarily his contract; it's his contract associated with his play. Like
yeah,
his
I,
level of that he's been at has not lived up to what his contract is. So
yeah. I'm trying to remember. I don't actually know if he did officially ask for a trade or if it was like rumored that he wanted a trade, and then they kind of like it was rumored that they said, yeah, we wouldn't trade him anyway. So it just kind of like never really came to anything.
yeah,
Like I feel like it was kind of a weird like nobody was very committal, but regardless, we can get into the projected lines. These are the daily face-off projected lines for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Um, they got this first line lined up, which is looking not bad. At Boone Jenner on the left wing, Kirill Marchenko on the right wing, centered by Sean Monahan. I do wonder if Sean Monahan will be that guy at center on the first line. Like it very
yeah.
well could be Fantilli at this point, depending. But
I think a team with
Monahan's also new to the
Columbus.
team, so
Yeah, I also think with a team like Columbus, it doesn't necessarily matter because I think when you look at this team, it's not like you've got your first line and your first line's like better than your second line. Like there's a very good chance even with this Columbus team because again, it's a lot of young guys and we don't know where they're all going to be at. Their highest scoring line could be their third line.
it really could be.
Like it's really kind of just and again, I don't even have the lines pulled up so I don't know. But like I even just when I'm thinking about the roster like there's so many young guys on this team that we don't know, what exactly you're going to be getting out of them. Like what you're going to get out of a guy like Boone Jenner. Uh, I mean, really, that's kind of the only forward that's on the older side that's been there for a bit. But again, these young guys, you don't necessarily know. And I'm mostly just kind of curious to see, what kind of combinations they put together of guys they want to try and see if there's a spark between those guys. But overall, for the first time, like I don't hate it. I think
Yeah,
Marchenko is a sneaky 30 goal scorer. Guys with two good
I
veterans like
yeah
Monahan and Boone Jenner. Like Boone Jenner's good defensively. Monahan is decently good too, a little bit more offensively. It could be a fun first line.
Yeah, I think it's a good line. I do wonder if it it's a good first line. I think it's jumping the gun to care whether or not Fantilli's on the first line or not, because
Yeah,
yeah, I definitely wouldn't be surprised if like their first and second line play like the exact same minutes. Like
yeah,
they don't have, that Connor McDavid where you want to play him like crazy on that top line. So,
yeah.
um, but that second line they have it listed here as James Van Riemsdyk on the left, Yegor Chinnikov on the right, and Adam Fantilli centering them.
I don't mind that actually.
I don't mind it. I would definitely rather see a Kent Johnson up on the second left wing than JVR. Not that JVR couldn't do it at this point, but just to give him a bit more of a chance up there.
See, but if
But
you do see, and that is kind of, I mean, it's one of the fun things about Columbus, but it is a problem is, especially nowadays in the NHL, you see teams are so weary and afraid to, you know, just throw three young guys on a
yeah,
line, like all guys that are relatively young. Like even, last episode we were talking about San Jose, and you talked about Will Smith and Celebrini together, and I said like it's just not the route they're going to go because teams are just so weary. Like you always want to have at least
yeah,
one veteran, which is the one thing that with the first line, like you could split up Boone Jenner and Monahan and drop one down to the second line. You drop JVR to the third, and then again because everyone else is a young guy really, and that way you can at least have one solid established veteran on each line.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, I like it. Move JVR down. Could even move Kent Johnson up to the first line or something and drop a Boone Jenner or Monahan to the second line. Just
yeah.
spread your
Like,
veterans out. Like you've only got a few, so
yeah, they really do have like one per line in this forward core.
yeah.
So it
But
would
I
be
don't
nice
mind
to
the
spread
second
them
line.
out.
Like
But yeah, I think that line would do great. I think Chinnikov Fantilli would really complement each other's game. JVR, assuming he can still go, which he did last year, would just stabilize that line a lot.
yeah,
That's why they want the veterans on those lines.
yeah.
They have the third line listed as Voronkov on the left wing, Kent Johnson on the right wing, and Cole Sillinger centering them.
So yeah,
Uh,
that's first of all. I just saw this now. It's so bizarre to me to see a forward wearing number 4. Cole Sillinger. To me,
mm,
that's just so bizarre to see a forward wearing the number 4.
I don't think it looks bad though. For some reason,
I think it looks pretty bad. But like again, this
for
is the
some
thing we
reason
talked
to
about
me,
though.
like
It's a
4 and up is fine, but like a 3 or a 2 is so defenseman. But like 4 seems fine to me. Probably because I watched the Lightning and we've got 4 in the rafters at this point. But
yeah. But again, like it goes back to what we're saying. You look at this, like this is a young line, right? Like I mean, Voronikov is kind of the veteran, but like he's only 23. Cole Sillinger 21, Kent Johnson 21. Like you don't really have that veteran. So again, I think this is where you can maybe benefit from dropping JVR down to the third line. And I mean, whichever guy you want to move up, I think I'd probably leave Cole Sillinger there because he's kind of the best suited to be center there. And then you
yeah,
move a Voronikov or a Kent Johnson up.
yeah, I think that would be the best way to go for it. Yeah, probably move JVR down to the third, Kent Johnson up, and then maybe swap Fantilli and Monahan, and then you have Jenner on the first, Monahan on the second, JVR on the third. Kind of spread out the
Yeah,
veterans among all the rookies and guys on ELCs and all the young guys. But as far as this line goes on its own, they don't have that veteran presence, but I
it
do
could be
like
a
the
fun
skill level
line.
that's there for a third line. Like,
Yeah, like the skill level is there, but looking at it, you can also see there'd be some tough nights for these guys. There'd be some
yeah,
tough nights where, again, despite all the skill they have, they're they're going to be spending more time in their own end than in the other team's end. I feel like, which again, is going to happen to every line. Like there's going to be nights like that, but like, yeah, I think they could just benefit from having a little bit more of an established veteran presence on that line. But
Yeah.
again, it'd be a fun line to watch. There'd probably be some nice goals scored between the three of them. Uh,
Yeah, I
so
think Sillinger is kind of a guy that's gone a little under people's radar. I mean, being a depth player in Columbus and all, but he's a really solid player and he produces more than I think people think. And I could see him taking a decent step this year as well.
yeah, I think at this point they're really hoping that he does. I'm just trying to find last year 77 games, 32 points, so only -4.
On a pretty bad team once again. So,
Yeah.
that -4 is actually pretty decent. But yeah, like 13 goals, 32 points, that's not bad for a guy in the bottom 6 on Columbus. I don't know if he played in the bottom 6 last year, but
Yeah, I didn't watch enough Columbus games to know.
yeah. You know what? I think Fantilli last year was on the third line, so there's a good chance Sillinger was the second line center. But uh either way, we move on to the fourth line, which is Justin Danforth on the left, Olivier on the right, centered by Sean Corrali.
I'm fine with that fourth line. I think that's exactly
Yeah,
what the fourth line needs to be for this team. It
yeah,
doesn't have, like, especially when you look at how young and just like talented their top sixes in terms of their younger players. Again, you don't need your fourth line to be score goals. It's just got to be a solid, you know, presence out there you can trust in your own end. You've got a guy out there that can drop the mitts if need be and kind of be the tough guy for the team. Like that's exactly what you want. So
yeah, yeah.
I think they
They,
will. I think this forward core will be missing Patrick Laine a little bit. Uh,
yeah,
Obviously they never really had the luxury of him in Columbus of uh, being, a full time guy. He did miss a lot of games as a part of the organization. But like if you had him healthy, he would have injected a lot of energy and talent into this forward core. But again, like with what they've got, I think it's totally fine with where they're at. It fits in the timeline of where they're going through right now. So
yeah, and like yeah, Line would have helped them so much because
yeah,
last year the only guy on the entire team to eclipse 200 shots is Zach Werenski in 70 games as a defenseman. Like the next highest was 193 Kirill Marchenko, and that's good for Marchenko, but uh, a lot of teams have that one or two guys that they can put up 250, 260 shots. So, like some guys that go crazy get to 300. Like their highest forward didn't crack 200. So, having a guy that he's just the trigger man and he's always looking to bury it in the back of the net, uh,
mm,
that would be really nice for them because, Marchenko had 23 goals last year. Jenner had 22. Next was Voronkov with 18. They only had two guys beat 20 goals,
yeah,
which is pretty tough.
yeah, yeah. And that's like I said. I expect them to be a better team next year. I expect those offensive numbers to go up for a lot of the guys. It's just a hiccup, and well, not really a hiccup. They're kind of right where they needed to be last year. Uh, you know, for this team, they still should have been picking in the top 5, and thankfully for them, they did. They're able to get a great player. Again, probably another. I, I, I still don't know if I see this team getting out of the bottom 5. Uh, I think I still do see them being above a Chicago, a San Jose. I see them kind of being right in there with Anaheim.
Yeah,
But again,
Anaheim looks a
like
little more poised to take a step.
it's gonna be an improvement from where they were last year, I think, because again, like you've already seen a lot of promise out of these young guys. You got to imagine that they're at least even if 3 of them, because what do they have, right? Like they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Even if 3 of them can kind of take that next step in their development, and again, you say 3, it's probably going to be more. That's already huge for them, and you're going to see the team's numbers increase quite a bit because
Yeah.
these guys are a big part of their team. Like a lot of the team's offense is going to be relied on, Wierenski from the blue line, but then a lot of these young guys up front with Monahan, Boone Jenner chipped in occasionally. Like that's kind of where this team's at. So
Yeah. Yeah, they're looking to increase their numbers, and it's, you know, it's so many young guys. It's hard to tell if they can, but we're seeing over in Anaheim that there's all their young guys are slowly increasing their numbers, and you know that's just how you got to do it in the rebuild. So hopefully, Boone Jenner and the like can really help them get to that point. And um, I do think that they really want a lot of these forwards to improve, and that's why there's so much veteran presence on the D core compared to the forward core. We'll start talking about them because it's a lot of veterans back there. They got on the first defensive pairing, they got Zach Werenski and Damon Severson. Like that's solid. Severson's
yeah,
contract isn't great, but
I wouldn't say it's bad though.
yeah, it's not like an anchor or anything, and he's providing a lot of value to the team right now with his defensive
And with
play.
some
So
decent play, like that's a contract that can easily get moved down the line, I think, as well.
yeah, yeah, especially since it's at a not incredibly unreasonable 6.25 mil cap hit. It is for the next 7 years, but if you keep it for 5 years and then trade it in the last two, if you retain half, you're down to 3.1 something. Like,
Yeah.
if unless he's a complete shell of his former self, that'll be worth it and then some, especially with whatever the cap ends up being in 5 years. So
Yeah.
I don't foresee that being too much of an issue unless, God forbid he takes some type of injury.
Yeah.
But yeah, Zach Werenski, like absolute beast. I'm a huge Zach Werenski guy. I always think he's very underrated, but yeah, you also got to play games to showcase how good you are. So
Yeah.
70 last year, we'll see if he can repeat, hopefully get more games even in than that this season.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Their second pairing, Ivan Provorov and David Juracek. That's a real interesting pair, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So the first thing, and I'm pretty certain on this, Provorov won't be on this Blue Jackets team by the end of the year. I think this is a guy that definitely gets moved, whether it's mid-season, whether it's at the deadline. I think there's going to be some teams that are going to be really interested in adding a guy like Provorov to the mix, especially when you look at how healthy he's really been, um, throughout his career, right? Like going back to 2016, 17, that was his rookie year, 82 games, 82 games, 82 games, 69 games. But again, that was when COVID hit and the season got cut short. So I don't know exactly how many games
I think it
all the
was
teams played.
53-ish for most teams. I
No,
think it
I'm
was like,
talking about the like when it shut down the league. Like they couldn't even finish out the regular season.
yeah, I think most of them played.
It
Oh
couldn't be
no,
because he played 69. So
I was gonna say no. I'm thinking of the
the
maybe the
actual
following season or
COVID year
something.
was 56, where it was like every team there was just the four divisions and you just played your division.
Right. Yeah.
That one was
No, it would have been.
56.
Yeah, the one that got canceled. It got canceled like.
It was around 70 or so for
Yeah,
most teams.
yeah, it would have been
So
like 70 to 73-ish probably. So he
so
played
I don't know how
the
many games
vast
he missed
majority of them.
there. Yeah. And then the full on bubble COVID year, he played all 56 games. Year after 79, 82, 82. So like this guy stays healthy. He's a guy you can rely on to be in your lineup damn near every single night. Uh, the offensive numbers aren't, exactly groundbreaking, but he's still a very reliable, solid defenseman.
Yep.
I don't have his cap hit at the moment, but I know he's on the last year of his deal. And
Yes,
again,
he's last year of his deal, 4.7 mil. So
4.7. So going to your favorite thing of retaining half, 2.35 for a cup contender. Like if you're like shit, if you're the Edmonton Oilers and you can find a way to fit in only 2.35, and you can add a guy like Provorov in.
And you can just throw him. He's clearly a rental. Hey, you want to come win a cup? Play on the third pair for us. Like he doesn't.
Yeah,
He's not going to come in
probably
and
second pair.
demand. He's not going to demand to play high up if you have that spot set up. Like I don't know if Edmonton necessarily would, but like any of these teams, you can even if he's a top 4 caliber defenseman, that means he'll be really good on your third defensive pair. So
Yeah. And then who was he with? Who did you say was Yurchek?
yes, David Yurchek.
So I hope he has a better year. Obviously, did not have the greatest season last year. There was rumors of potentially him wanting to trade. Those were obviously proven to be false. Yeah, I think he's in line for a big year. I know Columbus is hoping for a big year out of him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
and I you know what, I think having him at least start the year with Provorov, I think is a good playing partner for him. Push comes to shove, you could give him a crack on the first pair with Renski.
if that pans out, that would be real nice for him. Um,
Yeah,
I do think he'll have a better year this year. Like last year, he only got into 43 games in the NHL, 10 points, so not great, but not horrible as a defenseman. Um, Only a -4 in 43 games for a team that did pretty bad. They were bottom 5 in the league. Like that's not bad at all.
yeah.
And then 29 games in the AHL as well. Those stats are harder to go by because it's the AHL, but uh,
And again, he's
there's
20.
things to like. Yeah, there's things to like about what he did in the NHL last year. So even if it didn't really work out, it shows promise. And defensemen tend to take a bit longer. The game's a little more cerebral back there, and less just deking everyone's nuts off with your hands. So
Yeah.
uh, I think as a defenseman, he'll be just fine.
Well,
And
and again,
maybe
it's
take a
like
big
we
step forward.
say, forwards, it tends to be a bit easier for them to get into the NHL in transition, then defenseman, then goalie. But like it's again, another part of it is it's easier when you're transitioning into the NHL and you're on a good team, surrounded by, good players and you're winning. When you're on a bad team, it makes it tougher. So being, a defenseman on a bad team, like there's lots of growing pains with it. And again, like he's only 20, right? Like he was only drafted 2 years ago. So there's not a whole lot of pressure on him that like, oh, he's got to figure it out this year or he's a bust or anything. Like, no, like he could have another year like last year and it's still like, okay, it's fine. Like he's still got a couple more years before it's getting into the like, fuck, all right, this is like the last straw for him to figure it out. Um, But again, I agree. I think he's going to at least improve a little bit in this year, especially when looking at if Provorov's there, that's a reliable defensive partner that's going to be beside him every night. And then even the potential of playing with a guy like Renski, who is again one of the most underrated defensemen in the league, and can be a really good guy for him to learn from.
Like, and worst comes to worst, if he does end up moving down, he's got veteran Stanley Cup champion Jack Johnson to hang out with. Like, all
Yeah,
three guys on the left side would be great fits for him. So I think he's kind of set no matter where he is in the lineup, as long as he gets
yeah,
the proper amount of minutes. Um,
yeah,
Speaking of Jack Johnson on that third pair, we've got Jack Johnson on the left and Eric Branson on the right. I mean, offense on one side, defense on the other. Like that's a pretty good third defensive pair.
yeah.
As
Yeah,
long as
it's
Jack
great
Johnson can stay
veteran
going.
presence.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
It's
I can't say anything bad about it. Like it's not gonna wow you or anything by any means, but it's gonna be solid and I think it's still a pairing that you can rely on at least.
yeah, and Eric Branson, who did they sign him this offseason? Was it that recently?
No, to not this offseason, but the previous.
Oh, okay, because he's already at least according to cap wages has an A on his jersey. But
I believe he did last year as well.
yeah, so I mean that bodes well for him as a bit of a mentor there, and I do appreciate teams not being afraid to sign free agents and have them be a role player. He's being paid 4 mil a year for the next 2 years, but they aren't afraid to put him on the third pair. And I know this is daily faceoff. This isn't the official lines, but there were times last year where Eric Branson played on the third pair, and you know he's
And
getting paid to do it, right?
he had his career high in points last year with 26. So he had his best offensive year last year in terms of points.
Really,
Yeah,
I thought
I,
he
I
had
just I just looked that up now. Yeah,
I thought he had 1 year where he absolutely exploded for offense. Am I thinking of like a different good Branson or something?
um, you're probably thinking of Gustafson, who you clowned on when I said
Oh,
he's got the chance to quarterback Detroit's power play. You said he's a bum. That's who you're thinking of.
oh, it's
Um,
totally who I'm thinking of. He's just he's a bum.
Erica Branson, his career high was 17 points in his 1 year with the Flames. Like jumped up to 26 last year.
Like that's
I think
solid.
most notably, his most notable play last year was mugging Nick Cousins, making everyone a
Oh
fan
yeah,
of Erica Branson's work in one game. But again, like yeah, you have him and Jack Johnson. Denton Matejchuk, I think, is still a very interesting one. I'm curious to see uh, if he makes the team. I haven't heard of anything of him, starting on the Blue Jackets to start the year off. If he starts down in the AHL, but also having him in the mix is very intriguing as well.
decent stats in the preseason, but they also got 6 solid NHL ready defensemen by the looks of it. So he probably doesn't make it in unless he takes a job really from probably Jack Johnson.
I was gonna say, yeah, if he's taking a job from someone, it's probably Jack Johnson, and that's okay.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be upset if
Like
my
Jack
young,
Johnson just signed with Columbus this
yeah,
offseason, so like, I can't imagine he's coming in, being like, yeah, I'm guaranteed to be playing every night, especially like he is 37 now. He's still solid, but I think if Matejchuk earns his spot on the team, you can't just be like, well, I mean, Jack Johnson's our boy. We just signed him this offseason. Like, I think Jack Johnson's kind of coming in knowing that he's going to be a veteran. He's going to be a leader on the team, but
he was
yeah,
picked up for his
might
locker
not be
room
playing.
presence
Yeah, I
with
don't
a bit.
expect him to be an every game sort of guy, especially when you look at who was the defenseman in the Line A trade. The only piece Columbus got back in that trade from Montreal. They got him as well in the mix.
Oh, geez, I don't know.
Um, shit. Jordan
I could.
Harris, I think. Yeah, Jordan Harris. So
Oh yeah, I was
he's in the mix.
that broke my brain. I was thinking of the Line A trade with Winnipeg,
Oh,
and I was thinking
like
like, no, no way. There was way more pieces than that.
like Jordan Harris last year, 56 games with the Canadians, 14 points. Year before that, 65 games played, 13 points. In those 2 years, again, 2 years on a bad Montreal team, a combined -8.
That's actually like kind of insane. Like
So like
maintaining a
100,
decent plus minus on those bad teams
games,
is crazy.
like 121 games on, again, bad Montreal teams, only a -8. That's a guy that's going to be pushing to be in the lineup.
Yeah,
So
they
Columbus has options.
yeah. It really for them is more they have options than it being like a log jam or anything. Like it
Yeah,
doesn't feel like nobody's at the point where they're undeniable and they're being kept out of the lineup at this point. So that's good. But yeah, I really like that decor. Like that's a very veteran. It's very different from the forward core because it's very veteran heavy, other than Juracek. And you know what? I mean, if you want your forwards to develop and be able to think about scoring, figure out how to do that, then we'll work on our two-way game. I mean, they've got a great decor to help them do that.
yeah, yeah. I actually don't mind this decor at all.
But obviously, they didn't do great in the goals against category last year, and I don't think that's a huge part in their because of their defense. It's a lot of it to do with the goaltending, unfortunately. The
Yeah.
goaltenders that are slated to start this year, interestingly, are listed in this order: Daniil Tarasov and Elvis Merzlikins. They have Tarasov as the starter here.
So just let me pull up something quickly.
Yeah.
Just want to double
Um,
check.
Daniil Tarasov
Oh,
is not on his ELC. He's making 1 mil, but uh, just for the 1 year, and then he's an RFA, so they could extend him if he looks good this year. Um, that Merzlikins contract isn't really helping them, but it's more about finding a good goaltender at this point than worrying about that. They only have Merzlikins cap for another 3 years, even if whether they want to or not play him. Uh,
they're
that's
going
not
to
going
have
to
to eat
hurt the
that
team in three
contract.
years. Like
Yeah, no.
I don't think they have to move it. It's just it's not great,
By
and
the time there was
there's not
Lincoln's
much you can do.
contract is up, like once it's up, that's going to kind of be when Columbus is looking to contend. Like I think
Yeah,
they're still a couple years away. So again, like the Lincoln's contract, is it great? No, but is it like handcuffing the team or anything or like making it hard on them? Like no, they still need to
they're
reach
under
the
the
cap
cap.
floor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're under the cap floor. Like it's you can't say that it's an anchor on them by any stretch.
yeah, no, definitely not.
And who knows, maybe a team like Boston says, "Hey, we think Merzlikins can be good behind our defense." Maybe they pick up
Yeah,
Merzlikins and go with Elvis and Corpusalo instead of Allmark and Swayman this year.
yeah,
Could you imagine that kind of turnaround? That'd be crazy. They wouldn't even be paying them that much less than they were paying the other two.
yeah. Access, yeah. Good point.
But yeah, those are the two goalies, and Merzlikins has he's had a very interesting story, and he's been so up and down. I really hope he can turn it around. It's so hard to tell if he can. I think he's one of those guys that gets in his head even more so than the average goaltender, and it really hasn't
Yeah,
helped him. So hopefully Tarasov can kind of take a step. If they can maybe be a tandem, maybe that'll help them out more. Merzlikins was a lot better when he was with Corpusalo, I guess, in a tandem. I didn't even think about that. They would if you went to Boston, they would just be running back Columbus's goalie tandem for 2020. So maybe that's exactly what they need.
yeah. I mean, yeah. This team has options. Again, it's all about them just continuing to grow and just slowly get better
Yeah,
over time. Like they're going to hit their stride eventually, but it's going to be another tough year. But again, I do expect them to be at least in a better spot than last year
yeah,
in terms of
yeah,
how the team looks and the production you're getting out of guys that should be producing at a high level for this team.
yeah. They got 66 points on the year last year. Maybe try and finish uh, upper 70s. Maybe try and crack 80 if you can. They had a goal differential of minus 63 last year. Try and get it to minus 40, minus 30 or lower. Like,
Yeah,
just improve the numbers, season the guys a bit, but that's all they can hope for. And, uh, you know, they look like they're in a decent spot to do it. So, with that being said, uh, Brundi, do you have the Columbus Blue Jackets making the playoffs this year?
and no, like I said, I
No.
definitely do expect them to be in a better spot than last year. Maybe not in terms of the standings, but just how the overall senses within that locker room, how fans are feeling about them. Uh, but yeah, no, this still is definitely not a playoff team.
Yeah, that's I don't think you'll be hard pressed to find people who agree with you there. Um, and the other question we always ask, one player from this team that you think will win or is the most likely to win an individual award this upcoming season. The Columbus Blue Jackets, who do you got?
If Caden Lindstrom was playing or signed, even for that matter, I might go the route of him for the Calder, but it doesn't look like he's going to be joining the Blue Jackets this year, nor should he. Like again, there's no point in rushing a guy like him.
Especially with that medicine hat team that he's on in the dub. Like
exactly
he'll
right.
get
So
great opportunity.
Zach Werenski for the Norris is really the only one that jumps out to me. So I'll go with the basic one there.
Yeah,
I can't really make an
and
argument for anything else.
I was gonna say, just to be different, I'm gonna go with Zach Werenski for Hart, because if this team somehow finds its way into the playoffs, he's winning both of those awards.
All right,
But
you know what? I like it. Yeah, he's really the only guy you can pick that has a chance of winning something this year.
yeah, like
Give it a couple. You might have some guys that are
they've
in
got a couple guys
talks
that
for
could
some other
crack
ones,
30
but
goals, but yeah, like there's not even like who's gonna end their team with the most points this year. Marchenko, like he's not winning the Rock. He's not ringing the Art Ross.
the only guy
Yeah.
on this team that I believe can go point per game is Adam Fantilli. And again, I think even
You mean as soon as this
at
season?
that, yeah.
Okay.
But I think even at
I
that,
could see it.
I think I still think I think next year is probably when we're going to see it. Like again, Brent or Fantilli could be a point per game guy this year. But I just don't see it. Yeah, I think the following year, I think he definitely does. He'll be sniffing around there, but again, this isn't going to be a Blue Jackets team with crazy offensive numbers, but I definitely do expect it to be better than last year. But give me
Yeah.
Renski for the Norris.
Yeah, that's really the answer. But
Can't go wrong with it.
that's what we got for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Brew, do you want to talk about your favorite team in the East, the New York Rangers?
My favorite team in the East, the New York Rangers. Love them. Love them. My favorite thing about the New York Rangers is watching them lose in the playoffs every year. It's awesome. The New York
You got
Rangers
them.
had a record last year 55 wins, 23 losses, 4 overtime shootout losses, 114 points. Their over under going into the season was 101.5. So if you took the over, congratulations. You were basic. Goals for 282. That was good for 6th in the league. Goals against 229. That was good for 7th in the league. They won the President's Trophy, but I mean, solid in both goals for and against. I expected one of those, them to be like top 2 or top 3 or even potentially number 1. Like not top 5 in either goals for or against. We know the story in the playoffs. First round sweep over the Washington Capitals, taking down a good Carolina Hurricanes team, I might add, in round 2 and 6 games before losing to the eventual Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers in 6. It was a good year last year for the Rangers. I think there was a lot to like about this team. There was lots of areas that I think they were maybe a little bit unsure of, maybe some worries. I think a good chunk of those worries have kind of been put to bed in terms of certain players. Just trying to find it here. Just pulling up the individual player stats.
Yeah. They also I didn't even hear about this, but they have Adam Ernie on a PTO right now, which is interesting. He's just 1 year removed from playing a season with the Detroit Red Wings, 61 games played, 18 points. He's on a PTO, right? He's not going to be a massive needle mover, but he could be what they want on that fourth line, like just being an extra body. Hell, even just injury insurance come playoff time, because obviously this team is at the point where they're not worried about the regular season. They're worried about how do we win the cup. They're worried about the playoffs. So
yeah,
we'll see if
I'm not.
they end up signing him.
I'm not crazy high on Ernie. I think if he makes or if he does earn a contract, yeah, it's probably going to be like that 13th, 14th forward that kind of rotates in every now and then.
Yeah.
But again, like it's a good depth add that they can get, and again, you kind of get it for nothing because it's we always see with the PTOs, it's 1 year deals, very cheap contracts, and then more than anything, you're now signing a guy that's going to be busting his ass every game because it came down to he had to sign a PTO to stay in the league. So those guys, you tend to see a bit more intensity and hunger out of them to really go out there and try and earn a deal going into next season.
Yeah, and you know what? A PTO is not legally binding. Anyone can sign him. If they don't want to sign him, maybe the Blue Jackets want to give him
Yeah.
$2 million and try and get over the cap floor. I'm not
Yeah,
incredibly high on him,
I
but like
don't think there's no reason for I think really for the Rangers to not sign him. Looking at the roster again, like I know that's PTO anyone can sign him, but there is kind of that understanding and agreement amongst teams that it's like you if a guy's on a PTO and he doesn't get signed, you wait until he's released. You never really see a guy on a PTO with a team, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, he signed on a different team. Um, so again, I think Rangers, you might as well. Like, there's no real like downside to it. But yeah, if they let him go, like, could be a decent pickup for Columbus, and might even be a bigger payday for Ernie there.
yeah, just get him to the cap floor, and you know what? Fill in where you can. Um, but yeah, this I don't know if you have the cap wages pulled up, but the Rangers are in a very interesting spot draft pick wise. This is very strange to look at. They have all their first
Yeah,
rounders for the next 3 years, none of their second rounders for the next 3 years. They have not their third rounder this next year, but they have the next 2 years after that third rounders. None of their fourth rounders. Like, it's crazy how many of the 9 draft picks that are their second, third, and fourth for the next 3 years, they have 2/3, and that's it. But they still have all 3 of their firsts.
yeah,
They should be trying to win. Use your first rounders to get better. Like, it goes back. We were saying it back at the start of the playoffs. Like, they didn't want to move their first at the deadline because they wanted to have their pick when they were in the Sphere in Vegas, because the owner of the Rangers was also the owner of the Sphere, so he was hosting it. But like, come on, man! Like, you got to Game 6 against the eventual Cup winners. Like,
yeah,
a first can get you a decent guy. Like, that could have been the difference, especially if you tie another first onto it.
yeah, yeah. Like, and that's the thing that always kind of I'm like, just the Rangers are they're kind of like the Edmonton Oilers of the East, right? Like, consistently a pretty good team every year, highlighted by some great players up front. Obviously, Edmonton has the higher end players, but like Rangers have a really good team in their own right. But yeah, it's always like you're in win now mode, and it's like get rid of your first round picks. Like, you're all in to win the cup. You've got kind of a window right now with guys like Panarin, Zibanejad, Kreider, who aren't getting any younger. And I mean, it seems like they continue to kind of get better, at least in Panarin and Kreider's case. Yeah, like, sell off picks, sell off prospects. Like, go do what you can to win a cup, especially with the team that they've built. Again, farthest they've gotten is the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah. But with
And
that,
just one other thing I want to say is that
yeah,
they don't even have that Tampa Bay reason to not use their first, where it's like, we got nothing in the cupboards, we don't have young guys or anything like that. Like, all of our, it's just what we have. Like, they've still got Capo Caco and Lafreniere as RFAs. They still got uh Will Coyle.
Cooley.
Hope I'm Cooley, maybe, if I'm pronouncing that right. Like, Keandre Miller's 24, Braden Schneider is 23, Zach Jones is 23. Like, they got great young players. So it's not like they need to hoard these first round picks to make sure they don't fall off. Like, they got guys around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, like they 100% do. just quickly before we dive into what the team is now, just going over some of the quick offseason moves they made. They did acquire Riley Smith at 25% retained from Pittsburgh. In that deal, they did trade their 2027 second and 2025 fifth. They re-signed Ryan Lindgren to a 1-year deal. Re-signed Braden Schneider to a 2-year deal. You got Sam Carrick on a 3-year deal. You re-signed Capo Caco to a 1-year deal, and that was really it. They, again, they didn't have the money, they didn't have the luxury of going out and really adding to their team. It's really a lot of what they had last year. Like the only real improvement is you're adding a good veteran in Riley Smith. He's got a cup, so that adds for something. I think he might be the only player on the team with a cup, aside from Jonathan Quick, who I thought had a really, really good kind of bounce back, kind of rejuvenation of the later portion of his career, where it kind of looked like he was just going to bounce around, but really kind of solidified himself with his childhood team, the New York Rangers, putting up really good numbers last year, and proving that regardless of whether it's Igor Shesterkin of all goalies or Jonathan Quick, you're going to have a tough matchup against the Rangers in terms of their goalies. So I really like that for them in terms of their goaltending situation. They do got to get Igor's contract figured out at some point, and that is going to be a massive pay increase for him. So, you're going to have to make some moves in terms of who are you moving out?
They got to make room for that money, and we are currently seeing it with the Boston Bruins with the whole Swayman thing. Get your goalie signed, because it is going to be an issue if you don't. And these guys don't have the luxury of he's an RFA. If we really want, we can sit on our hands. July 1st, if he hits the open market, he's gone, dude. Somebody's throwing bank at him. I bet the Avs
won't hit the open market.
I don't think so. But if he did, I bet the Avalanche would give him freaking 12.
Yeah. Well, the Avs couldn't afford him.
Yeah.
That team would be so. The Avs.
For Igor Shesterkin.
So what? You're gonna pay?
You move guys.
Yeah, but that team wouldn't win a cup again. Because your entire team would literally be your first 4 line, your first defensive pair, your goalie, and then the rest of your team having maybe $12 million to work with. That would be tough.
It would be tough. We've seen it happen.
On the topic though of players maybe having to be moved out, if you're a Rangers fan, you might not want to listen to the next few minutes because you're not going to like it.
Listen to me.
Rangers fans are spoiled brat. They really are. They have had the luxury of, you look over the last few years, Adam Fox just stiff arms his way through everybody like Derrick Henry to be like, no, I'm going to the Rangers. I'm picking my team. This is what I'm doing. You get Artemi Panarin, he hits free agency. He goes to New York. They get the luxury of, any big name that's available for. No, but you kind of knew he was going to the Rangers when he hit free agency.
Yeah, but he didn't take a discount to go there.
No, but that's what I'm talking about. Is guys taking discounts, though?
No,
it's just
I guess
players going there.
I just don't see that as an advantage to them, because they, still have to pay the guy a crap ton, $11.6 million for however long it's been.
No, but I'm saying they get the luxury of, because they're the Rangers, because they're New York, they're always getting all these big, exciting pieces coming there. You think even going even back further, Rick Nash becomes available. Who's the first team in on him? The New York Rangers. They get him. Jack Eichel becomes available. The New York Rangers are right in on him. So you've got the luxury of guys want to go to New York. They want to play there. And it's awesome because you're getting all these pieces. But then heaven forbid your captain, Jacob Trouba, doesn't want to waive his no trade clause to be moved. He wants to stay with the Rangers. And Rangers fans are up in arms, pissed at him and mad that he won't, he's not willing to leave the team. He wants to be a part of the team. It's like, well, yeah.
They
Like
just won the
you
President's Trophy. I'm the captain. I wouldn't want to move either.
yeah, like you can't just pick and choose and be like, well, we want all these hot shot big name guys to come here, but if we want you to leave, you got to be willing to leave. It's like, no, he earned his right. He earned his way into getting the contract he did with the certain restrictions that he got. If he doesn't want to leave, he should not have to, and you have to find a way to make that work.
Yeah. And
Every
even if they
other
did want
team
to trade him,
does.
they could. Like, if they really wanted to, they could. For last season, he had a 15-team no-trade list. That's half the league. You still have the other half of the league to trade with. Like, uh, I'm sorry he didn't waive his no-trade clause to go to, Chicago or San Jose or Anaheim, but he'd rather be on the President's Trophy winning team playing in Madison Square Garden.
It
Like,
is worth noting now um that no trade list just kicked in as of July 1st. It was an entire no movement clause before that, minus the very first year.
oh, it was a full no move before that.
Yeah.
Okay, my bad.
So now it's a modified no trade. Again, like he's only got 2 years left on it, and again, like he's the captain. They're a good team.
He
He
just won the
does
Messier
not
Award.
need to. Yeah, the most prestigious award, as we talk about. Like he does not need to. He doesn't owe Rangers fans anything.
No.
Like he does not need to be like, yeah, I'll fall on the sword. I'll go play for San Jose or Chicago, so you guys can go out and make these moves and go on to win a cup without me. Like, no, he earned his spot there, and he 100% has the right to play out the contract with the team if he sees fit. If the Rangers decide not to resign him, let him walk. That's fine. But he does not owe Rangers fans anything in that he should be the one to fall on the sword and go play for a bad team to give the Rangers a better chance at the cup. So
Yeah. And to be fair, that's not all Rangers fans. You see a lot of them online, especially if you're on like Twitter or something. But
yeah, not all Rangers fans,
there
but
are plenty of them that are
a,
like,
a
guys,
good
he's
chunk
he's
of
still he's still pretty good and like not worth his cap hit, but there's a reason he became the captain. He's still got value, and if nothing else, he hits really freaking hard. And if you're planning on going deep in the playoffs, that means something.
me
But
and Rangers fans will always have beef, so I'm not
you and a lot
I'm
of
not
people always
giving
have
I'm not
beef.
giving them the benefit of the doubt. There is a few good ones, but um yeah, I'm not. I know I'm never welcome in terms of the New York Rangers fan base, and that's okay. I can accept that. I can still give credit where credit's due. They do have a very good team. Uh, I mean, do we just dive straight into the lineup now after I just ripped them a new asshole? Should we give some love to how good this team actually does look on paper?
Uh, we definitely could. One thing I do just want to highlight before we move on is they have a lot of people with a 1 in the years remaining category here.
And that's
Uh,
that's what I'm saying, right?
like Riley Smith. Okay, you just signed him. He's 33 years old. He's a rental for this
He'll
year.
walk. Yeah, he'll
Uh,
walk at the end of the year.
and a lot of these guys are RFAs, but you got to find money somewhere, and Shesterkin's getting paid next year as well. But Capo
Yeah.
Caco, Lafreniere, uh,
Lafreniere
like
will get a big raise from his 2.3, especially if he even has the year he had last year or improves. He'll get a nice pay raise. Capo Caco, I think you can probably give him less than the 2.4 he's making if he's even on the team. Like at some point, you might just have to be like,
I think he's going to
this
want a bit
this
more, and they're going
partnership
to have
just
to
ain't
move him.
working. Yeah, like the Rangers shouldn't pay him more than what he's getting.
And
Other than that, yeah, it's like, what
Ryan
do you look at?
Lindgren,
Like,
Keandre Miller, they both need new contracts next year. Like,
yeah,
and that's all after the first one you sign. Obviously, is Shesterkin's extension, which is gonna cost him a
yeah,
ton of
that
cap
takes
space.
priority.
So
Like Adam Fox, his 9.5's not getting moved. Jacob Trouba, again, now that it is a modified no trade clause, maybe. But again, now you got to find a team willing to take on his 8 mil. And especially that, also a team that is there going to be a team within his modified no trade clause that he could go to.
yeah,
Panarin,
15
no
teams.
movement
So
clause. He's not going anywhere. Zibanejad, no movement clause. He's not going anywhere. Chris Kreider, no movement clause, modified no trade clause. He's not going anywhere. Vinny Trocheck, no movement clause. He's not going anywhere. It's like, fuck, where do you find the money? Like, do you move a Filipino?
I think he provides a lot to that team.
But like that's one of the
But
only guys you can, unless you're doing
you got
a
to move
Ryan
somebody. Yeah.
Lindgren. That's just the unfortunate reality of it is like you're gonna have to lose a good player to keep Shesterkin and Lafreniere, which is kind of your two main priorities.
You
Someone's
got to
gonna have
win.
to go to bring those two back.
Yeah, they got to win in one of these upcoming years. Like all their best forwards, like literally their top four forwards for Panarin, 32 years old, Zibanejad, 31 years old, Kreider, 33, Trocheck, 31. They're getting up there. They got to win soon. Like they got those shiny 3 first-round picks that they're looking to go deep in the playoffs. Surely they make at least the second, third, or fourth round, right? So they're going to be 20 or above. They're not actually going to be worth that much. So strap one if you have to. Strap that and a third or even 2 firsts, and send Truba to one of the teams that's not on his 15. Like now that it's not a full no move, damn,
But again, you
can't the
still have
new
to find a
Canadian
team
team?
that can fit that.
Yeah,
Like there's only a handful of teams that literally a handful that can take on that 8 mil, and they're all not good teams. So you got to imagine.
but you can take a little bit of money back, even if it's, you know, money you don't necessarily want. You take back a guy who makes 4 mil for one more year, and then maybe that guy's super easy to flip to Chicago because that guy doesn't have the trade protection or something like that. Like I
I
everyone
think if we
making
are going to
money
see a
is worth
Truba
so
move,
much. Everyone making money is so valuable to this team, like an Adam Fox or Panarin, except Truba. Like,
I think if you see a Truba move, it's going to be next off season, especially when now it's a little bit more enticing for teams at least to get him because there's only 1 year left. And I mean, you very rarely see a team, that's got their sights set on the cup just trading their captain mid-season or at the deadline. Um, Especially in terms of how he's regarded in terms of, like on the ice, say what you want about him. Off the ice, he is a really good dude. Um, Rangers players speak very highly of him as their leader, and it just as an overall teammate and a good dude. It's going to affect the locker room if you do move him mid-season. Um, I mean, just looking at it, like
they do got a lot
how
of good veterans, though. Like, I do wonder, like, how much does
it's
it
not
bet?
about like the veteranship. It's more so just of like that is your captain, and it's kind of weird to see your team like you trade away your captain, the leader of your team, be like, all right, let's go win a cup now. It's like
But they
it's
aren't stupid.
weird.
They do know how the cap works. They do know that they know that it's not because they don't like him. It's because he's making 8 mil and they need to win before Shesterkin takes all the money. Like,
But that's what I'm saying. Like you can move Truba in the off season. Like it's not
but
like the
but
Rangers are
the
going to
cup
be trading away Truba and X, and then because like then you're selling out your entire your cupboard for 1 year. Because like you said, you probably got to attach something to move Truba, potentially maybe retain some, and then you're going to have to use more assets to go out and grab something else. Like you're selling off the entire farm basically for one move, which I think you could get away with maybe not even having to retain, maybe not having to attach anything,
a part of that move is
moving
keeping
Truba
more guys
in
though
the off
because you
season.
have the money. Like,
Yeah, but you can move Truba after next season, at the draft or whatnot. Like
yeah, maybe. I just think
I'm
I
just
think
looking
I
at
think
it.
they really need to win this year. There's just so many guys with 1 year left that it
Well, that's what I'm
they
saying.
can't even all the RFAs. You can't keep all the RFAs like
No, you
the
can't.
salary cap, even though they're not UFAs. They're in a unique position where it's going to be tough.
That's what I'm saying. When you look at like it's very similar to Edmonton. That's why I'm like thinking like
Yeah,
if we got an Edmonton New York Rangers Stanley Cup final, that would go unbelievably crazy. Just because it's basically two teams that
they have to
you're
win.
going to be losing a majority of your roster after the year. You're going to be in cap hell. Your depth is never going to be as good as it is right now. Like and more than anything, just watching the best player on earth, Connor McDavid, versus the best goalie in Shesterkin would
In
be
Madison
an
Square
incredible
Garden
matchup.
in the
Uh,
finals, like
yeah,
he's
that
going
would
to
be
walk through all
a
five Rangers again.
crazy, yeah, that would be a crazy Stanley Cup final. in terms of where these two teams are at. But looking at their roster, their projected roster going into next season, again, this is daily faceoff. First line, Artemi Panarin and Alexei Lafreniere on the wings with Vincent Trocheck in the middle. I like that for your first line, especially if Lafreniere takes that next step as well from where he was last year.
Yeah. Who pissed off Zibanejad? Why isn't he up there? Am I crazy? Like Trocheck had a good playoffs and end to last season, but is Zibanejad not like the guy for their first line anymore?
It's really not with the Rangers. It's really not first line, second line. It's just having two dominant top lines and working with uh your duos that work. I mean,
Zibanejad and Panarin, I thought were like their best duo.
no,
Whenever
it
I've
was
watched them, like
Trocheck and Panarin, especially after last year. Like
okay,
Trocheck, I mean, Trocheck in all areas of the game had a better year than Zibanejad last year, and that was largely due to him just working with Panarin, and then once
fair
Lafreniere kind
enough.
of solidified himself up there,
Yeah,
Vincent Trocheck is for me a top three most underrated player in the league right now. I don't think he gets
he's really
talked
kept
about
improving.
enough. And
Yeah,
again, you just especially when you talk about the Rangers, like it's Panarin, Zibanejad, Fox, Kreider, like Vincent Trocheck definitely had a terrific season last year. Um, yeah, like for that first line, I got no issues with it.
yeah, like and Trocheck could put up huge goal totals on this line. Lafreniere's always been
Yeah,
a bit of a pass first guy. He's starting to come into his own. Panarin just put up 120 points. He's a pass first guy. Like Trocheck's just got a puck comes to me. I'm just gonna shoot it. Like just got to get open and shoot the puck. Like that. That's a
yeah,
great scenario for him.
yeah. Second line, Chris Kreider and Riley Smith on the wing with Zibanejad in the middle. That's a great second line. Like Riley Smith can still go. Wasn't in the greatest situation in Pittsburgh, but Zibanejad again, one of the best second line centers we've looked at in terms of all these teams going through their rosters. Chris Kreider, you know what you're going to get out of him, especially on the power play.
Yeah,
Like that's a
like
that's a really good top six.
that's a great second line, and I do think I've said it at some point on the podcast before, but I'll say it again. Um, if Tampa Bay is playing another team in Game 7, the order of people I fear them most is Connor McDavid number 1, and Mika Zibanejad number 2. Maybe it's just against the Lightning, but this guy freaking scores every time he plays against us, and they're all snipes. Like this guy will just go bar down every fucking time he goes to Tampa. Um, so I don't know if he's doing that against every other team, but like especially in the playoffs, this dude is a killer. So to have a guy that good on your second line is outstanding for the Rangers.
Yeah, like it's a really good top six, and uh, their depth isn't even that bad. Like your third line, you've got Will Cooley and Capo Caco on the wings with Filipino in the middle. It does look like Filipino's going to be healthy and good to go for the start of the season, which is huge for the Rangers. Like that's a really solid third line center. Will Cooley, I thought, really made a strong statement in coming into the league last year. Capo Caco, I don't even know what we say about him at this point. Like I don't know where he's at. I don't know where the team's at. He just can't figure it out there. Uh, I really, really do think this is like his last year with the Rangers. I think at
I
this
think
point
so.
now, especially with his contract being up, where the Rangers cap situation is going to be, it's like,
I think he's a guy that needs to get moved from this
yeah.
team just where they are. Um, I think he's a
It's
very
not
good
that he's a
player.
bad player though. It just doesn't work with the Rangers.
Exactly. They, 2 seasons ago, he played all 82 games, 18 goals, 40 points. Like, that's really solid. Last year, only 19 points and 13 goals, but in 61 games. So if he plays the full 82, he's probably around 30 and 18 again. So, like, if he can keep improving, he's still only 23. Um, like, he still could have a very good future, but as it is right now, I think he's going to want a bit of a prove himself bridge deal. to really get that big money later if he
But
thinks he
he's on
can.
that right now. He's on his prove it bridge year.
I think he's going to want to sign somewhere else, and he's going to want to go 1 or 2 years at 3 something, and so that he can if I'm him, assuming he wants to get after that he'll get 7 years at however much he can get, whatever the highest numbers he can get to. But
But he's also I'd be shocked if he gets 3 mil on his next deal, unless he has a really good year this year. But based off so far, yeah, and also that if he's getting that, don't expect to go to the playoffs. Like if you're hoping to get around 3 mil per year on a 2-year bridge deal, you're going to a Chicago, you're going to a Columbus, a San Jose, a Calgary. Like you're going to a bottom team that's trying to just be above the cap floor and where you can hopefully maybe get into a top 6 role and go out and prove yourself. Um, but yeah, I just this
I think you're
partnership with the
underselling him a
Rangers,
bit.
just what has he done to prove that?
40 points in 82 games. That's
Okay, playing in a great top 6 with the Rangers.
well, he's not in the top 6. He's been stapled to the third line.
2 years ago, he was in that top 6.
No, that's when he was on the kid line when Lafreniere was still a third liner. I don't think
No,
he's ever got out of the bottom 6. I
that
don't
was
follow the Rangers super close, so like if you know for sure, like
he was
full
getting
rank,
lots
but
of he was getting lots of cracks in that top 6 because like um because Riley Smith's in there now. I can't remember who they had in there last year. I don't know who was fit into that top 6 last year. But yeah, no, 2 years ago he was getting some good cracks up in there
oh, I thought he had always been on that fourth and then third line, but yeah,
because
maybe he was
they've
on
been
that second
trying
line.
everything to make it work with him, and yeah, it really hasn't. I think he'll be a good player somewhere else. Sometimes it just doesn't work with certain teams,
Yeah.
really.
And I think people are giving up a little early as well because, still 23. Like he put up those 40 points when he was 22, 21 to 22 season. So, like he's still got room to grow. Obviously, at a certain point, yeah, you kind of have to call it, right? But they drafted him, they brought him up immediately, which, you know, maybe that didn't help his growth. The Rangers have a bit of a history of kind of doing exactly that. So
But
maybe bringing him
but
up immediately didn't help him.
everything proved that he should be like at like 17, 18 years old in the Finnish Elite League. Like he had 38 points in 45 games. He his biggest problem was he was drafted second overall, which obviously does put a lot of expectations on you. Like he was kind of the Calder favorite going into his rookie year. Like the whole thing was Jack Hughes went first overall, Capo Caco went second overall, and it was going to be like Jack Hughes is going to be the better player long term. But coming out of the
Yeah,
gate in the rookie year, all signs pointed to Capo Caco after how good he was over in Finland in his draft year, looked more NHL ready. And
yeah.
obviously that wasn't the case. And it never ended up like Jack Hughes ended up being the better player overall. Capo Caco really didn't impress too much in his rookie year.
And he's even good
Slow
like when he was
areas
young.
of development, but yeah, I think he'll be a good player elsewhere. It's just
Yeah.
the pairing just
I
doesn't
think
work
people
with
will
the
be shocked
Rangers.
how good he will be somewhere else. I
Yeah.
think I've already thought it, but really talking it through, even I think it even more so now. The Rangers is a place where rookies go to freaking be put out to pasture, man. Like
Yeah.
Lafreniere looked like he was gonna be phenomenal. Like he wasn't. He's not gonna be the next McDavid, but like he looked like he was gonna be an elite player in this league, and he is just now beginning to break out. 4 years later, at 22 years old, like and that he has the talent of a guy who is like undeniably at some point going to get good in this league and he's just starting to do it. Like I wonder if they really stunted him there. And like there's so many other guys, Elias Andersons that uh it just doesn't work out with the Rangers, and maybe that's just cuz they don't get a crack at playing consistent minutes because they're always lines in a blender when they're trying to help out all the different young guys, or maybe it's just the system they run. But
Mhm.
hopefully they can find him a good home somewhere else. And you know what? They kind of need to with the cap anyway. So it's one of those situations where it'll fix itself. They're gonna have to
Yeah.
move on from the cap. It'll help him get a fresh start, and it'll probably work
Yeah.
out for both of them.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. Fourth line, you got Johnny Brodzinski and Hart Trophy favorite Matt Rempe on the wings with Sam Carrick in the middle. It is interesting. There is no Jimmy Vesey in these lines currently. He's out injured. Well, that's
He
why.
is
So
on
no Jimmy
IR.
Vesey there. He is injured. So again, you've got Jimmy Vesey. You've got these three here. Like that's a good third line. That's what the Rangers need their third line to be. You've got some toughness in Rempe. You've got a little bit of depth scoring in Brodzinski, who can play a good two-way game. You've got Sam Carrick, who, we saw with Edmonton. He's got some feistiness in his game, especially in the playoffs. He plays a good fourth line center role. Like
Yeah, yeah,
it does it for me.
yeah. Like they've got plenty of scoring throughout the rest of this lineup. They just need to go out there, be good enough defensively, hit hard, hit often.
Yeah,
That's all. That's their job. If Matt
yeah,
Rempe puts up 0 points all year, I don't think they care.
yeah. Rangers fans will still love him. Like, yeah, he's not out there to score goals. He's out there to fight, and he's already out there chin hunting in the preseason, so he's already getting into form for opening night. He'll be ready to go.
He'll be ready to go.
Moving to the defense, which I think looks actually pretty solid. First pair, you got Ryan Lindgren and Adam Fox. I mean, like this pairing's worked. It's going to continue to work. You got Adam Fox, who's a top three defenseman in the league. Like this is a great top pair.
Yeah, and there's a bit of a question mark there with Brian Lindgren specifically. Can he be healthy? This dude is an absolute menace. He is a beast. He will do whatever it takes for his team. He will block any shot, hit anyone. And he's one of those guys that's so good at it, it's almost to his detriment because he'll probably never play 82 games in a season because he's always willing to put it all on the line, whether he's playing in October in game one or he's playing in game 7 of the cup final. So
Yeah,
when he's healthy, him and Fox is a phenomenal pair up top, but hopefully he can stay healthy the entire year to do that.
exactly. Yeah, health is always kind of the biggest thing with Lindgren. But when you have him in your lineup, you know exactly what you're going to get. And it's like you said, doing whatever it takes to help the team win. Second pair, you got Keandre Miller with Jacob Trouba. Again, that's a great pair. Like, that's a solid top four.
Yeah, like that's really solid. Keandre Miller, I think, is I Shesterkin's their number one to extend. After that, I think Lafreniere is still ahead, but I think it's like Lafreniere is a 1A and Miller is a 1B. Like
Yeah,
I think he's that important to this lineup.
yeah,
And looks to be going forward as well, considering he's only 24. So yeah, and I mean him learning from Trouba, obviously being protected by Trouba, they just both play well together. Like that's a really good top four.
yeah. And Miller, yeah, like he's right up there with Lafreniere. Also, especially because, like, again, Jacob Trouba, he's with the team right now for how long? We don't know. With Ryan Lindgren, health is always an issue, so you need to have that extra defenseman, right? Like without Lafreniere, you still got Panarin, you've got Trocheck, you've got Kreider, you've got Zibanejad, you got Hedel. Like you've got lots of forwards, but defensemen, you don't have that to the same degree, especially with the situations there. So yeah,
Yeah,
Miller's a big part of this team, and they got to figure out a way to get him locked up at some point here, regardless of how they do it. It's got to be a priority of theirs.
yeah, they need to get him extended. Those those three, Shesterkin, Lafreniere, and Miller are the three most important, I would say, that are expiring this year.
Yeah. And then the last pair, you got Zach Jones with Braden Schneider. again, like that's a very solid top pair, or not top pair, third pair,
Yeah, Braden
and a
Schneider's
younger
a
pair as
great
well.
third pairing guy. Zach Jones, I don't know as much about him. I don't know
He
how.
just kind of got into the league last year, kind of
Yeah,
looking like as a full timer or starting to become a full timer. Um, but again, like he was solid for them. He didn't look out of place. He went out there. He chipped in a little bit offensively. He played a steady, strong game. So
yeah,
yeah, I think he's gonna have a good year. Nothing outrageous or anything like crazy, but he's gonna be solid enough to the point that he's not gonna be hurting the team
yeah.
when he's out there.
Sixth defenseman. You just need to be responsible.
Yeah. And lastly, we already kind of talked about it, but the goaltenders, we know what it is. Igor Shesterkin with Jonathan Quick. Like that's a solid. I mean, you've got the best goalie in the league with Shesterkin when he's on his game, especially come playoff time, and then Jonathan Quick. Again, just an incredible bounce back year from where it was kind of looking like his career was heading. You know, the goaltending's not going to be an area that hurts the Rangers on any night.
No, yeah, most teams that have an elite starting goalie like that do not have near the talent for a backup that they're getting with Jonathan Quick. And the fact that, there's a reason that Shesterkin's about to get paid so much. It's because that might be the best goalie duo in the league this year. And combined, they're making just under 7 mil a year. Like
Yeah.
they're getting a bargain for that net tandem. So uh yeah, make as much as you can out of that for the 1 year you have it, because I don't know if Quick will even be playing next year, or if he does, if he'll stay with Rangers, or if he'll just fall off at that point. But you're also going to be paying
Yeah.
Shesterkin more. Like, there's a lot of things pointing to this being the year for him. I knew they needed to win soon. I didn't realize it was kind of this year. They're very similar to Edmonton in a lot of regards like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like overall, I like this Rangers team. Leads us into the final part. The last time we will be doing this for this series, we have the New York Rangers. Braden, do you have the New York Rangers making the playoffs this year?
I do. They're making it. They're making it.
Yeah, this is a good team.
They just won the presidents. Like,
Yeah,
they're
it's not very often you
top to
see.
bottom.
I can't remember last time we've seen a President's Trophy team miss the playoffs the following year. But this Rangers team, like that's not happening. They're a good team. Very well could easily win the Metro again this year. So yeah, they're one of the locks for me to be in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, and the last decade or so, we've seen a real trend of, not every time, but a lot of the times teams will win the President's Trophy and then they will lose in the playoffs. But then next year they win the Cup. Several teams have done that at this point, and I would not be shocked if the Rangers were the next in line to pull that off.
Yeah. And lastly, one player, one individual award. Who are you taking from this squad? Lots of good options. There's lots of good options to go with here.
Yeah, there's a shocking amount of guys. Like, there truly is a lot of different options. Um, I think I know which one you're going to go with, so I'm going to leave that open for you. I am going to go with Adam Fox for the Norris. Uh, he looked incredible last year. He got injured for a bit, which took him out of just enough games that he wasn't in contention. But the games he did get in, like, he looked absolutely insane. So I'm definitely going Adam Fox for the Norris Trophy.
Yeah, that one's mine too.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay.
Yeah, like Shosturkin's there for
That's what I thought you
Vesna.
were
Like
going with.
that's always a solid one, and like that's easy one to go with as well. Uh, really, those are kind of the big two. Like there's Panarin that you could be like, oh, for Hart, Art Ross. If he didn't win anything last year, he's not winning anything now. 49 goals last year in 82 games, 120 points. He wasn't even a finalist for the Hart. So that's
No,
saying something, right? Like it's just so
it's so
crowded now
hard.
in terms of the superstars up front for those awards. Like if it wasn't last year, I just don't see it now. Um,
That's
yeah,
fair. He came in fifth last year in Hart Trophy voting.
like despite the numbers he put up, it yeah is just crazy.
Yeah, and he
It's
wasn't
just
even
tough seeing
particularly
him.
close. Like Austin
Yeah,
Matthews in fourth had 756 points. Panarin had 175. He was
yeah,
600 below fourth place. Like that's ludicrous.
yeah, yeah. Like you can't go wrong with Fox or Shesterkin, but yeah, after what we saw from Fox last year, and you take into consideration, you know, the time he missed due to injury, like he was right up there. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Adam Fox as well.
All right, yeah, I thought you were gonna go with Shusterkin, but you know what? Like we said, there's a lot of options you can go in this one.
Yeah, it's a good team, and it's gonna be a playoff team. Gonna be one of the best teams in the league again this year. Will they trade their first round pick to actually try and fully go all in and get it done? We don't know about that. Rangers that don't like moving out their first round picks, but we're both on the side that they definitely should. Like you
Yeah,
should be just
they have
going
to.
all out to get it done now.
Like it
Yeah,
doesn't have to be to move Truba, but like you can't end the season with it. Like, sacrifice a little bit of the future assets to try and make something happen. Like you were close last year.
yeah,
Like two more wins against the Panthers and you're into the finals. And who knows once you get to the finals, right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
is that everything we got for both the Rangers and the Columbus Blue Jackets?
I believe so. Yeah, that does wrap up everything with the
We've done
Columbus
it.
Blue Jackets, New York Rangers. Best of luck to both teams and their fan base heading into the season. I don't think I'll be watching a whole lot of either team's games, but obviously we are still always up to date on everything and anything going on with every team. Uh, Braden, any last thing you want to throw in here before we officially wrap up our 2024 offseason reviews?
Oh, if we do them again next year, we're probably going to do shorter reviews.
Different format. Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to figure out a better way to do this.
I do like reviewing every team. I really
I
do.
do as well, though.
But yeah, we would go over it a lot more brief for
Yeah,
each
it was
team.
kind of a nice little break to get away from just like trying to find every little ounce of news to talk about and step to date. Everything. It's kind of nice to just take a step back, just kind of relax and just enjoy the view that is all things around the NHL and every single team, down to their fourth line grinders, third line checking forwards. Every part of the team, analyzing it and just discussing it. And it's going to be interesting now to see um, everything unfold with all these teams after we've done our intense research on all of them.
Yeah, it'll be good. And as we went through and said for every single team, do we think they'll make the playoffs? Yes or no? I'm pretty sure both of us have more than the amount of teams that can get into the playoffs, more than 16 teams making the playoffs. So we'll
Yeah.
uh, we'll have to make some decisions come the whenever we do an episode where we kind of officially predict the standings for next season.
Yeah. But well, the dog is going crazy now, so that
Oh,
is
the dog's
my cue to
barking.
go take care of that. But let's wrap everything for our off-season reviews. We thank
Yep.
everybody for joining us on this journey as we are right around the corner of NHL hockey. First regular season game actually is on tomorrow, so by the time you're listening to this,
Holy crap.
you'll be able to tune into a regular season game taking place tomorrow between the New Jersey Devils and the Buffalo Sabres overseas. Uh,
82
and
and
we're
0 Devils.
less, and then we're less than a week away from the rest of the season getting underway for every other team. So we look forward to that. We will be back at some point, maybe a special one this weekend, or if not, it will be our regular early upload uh, next week, where we will actually do our final predictions for all the awards, who's making the playoffs, who we think will come out on top and win the cup. A lot of fun stuff there. So looking forward to doing that.
Yeah. It's gonna be good. Like we've been saying it so much, especially more and more as we get closer to the season. But oh fuck, I'm excited to watch some hockey again. I'm excited to see some meaningful hockey. You know, not just the preseason. You know, preseason's fun and all, but you know, there's a lot of guys you can tell are like, we want to play the games that mean something. So
Exactly right. Yeah, I totally agree. But with that, that does wrap everything up. We do thank all of you for tuning in once again. We hope you guys enjoyed. You want to talk hockey, join on the conversations, whatever podcast platform you're on. You can check out all of the links in the description to this episode or any other episodes that you may be listening to. We'd love to talk hockey with you guys and get your input on what more you want to hear of. If you want to hear us talk about your team a bit more, or maybe some rookies, or whatever that we maybe haven't of covered or touched on, let us know and we will get to that. But that does wrap everything up here for us. We are T minus 26 minutes away currently from our fantasy hockey draft. So we are going to go gear up for that and get prepared to go to war here with each other.
yeah, I'm gonna try and repeat this year. Did I win? I think I did.
Yeah.
I just assume so. I win a lot of weeks and then usually lose the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you beat me last year in the
Oh, it was us in the finals, wasn't it?
Yeah. You took the crown from me, but I'll come back. I'll come back for it this year.
Hey, you know what? You know what I did? I won the President's Trophy. I won the most in 2 years ago, and then last year I won.
Yeah.
So you know what?
New York Rangers.
The Rangers going for
New York Rangers going all the way this year. You heard it here first. Again, that does wrap up everything. Thank you guys once again, and we will see you guys for the regular season.